Welcome to Style Masterclass, the podcast that teaches women to look stylish and feel confident so that they can show up ready to conquer and slay no matter what size they are. I'm your host, Miss J. You ready?
Hello. Welcome back to the Style Masterclass Podcast. On this week's episode, we're talking about how bad is bad enough. Let me back up because I think we need to talk about some foundational stuff. And then I'm going to give you some real world examples and talk about how to get out of this cycle of thinking. So here's where I see this crop up. My client will have gone to a big event. Maybe they even spoke. Maybe they took pictures with their colleagues and they're reviewing the pictures later and they're saying, oh my gosh, is that what I look like? I didn't know I had let it get that bad. Or maybe they've been in Zoom meetings all day. They've worked their tushy off. They've done the thing. They've been super productive. They catch a glimpse of themselves in the mirror in the afternoon and they're like, oh my gosh, is this how I showed up to my meetings? I didn't know I had let it get that bad. They have to go on a work trip and they go to try on the clothing in their closet and none of it fits. It's a little too snug, totally uncomfortable, not wearable at all. I didn't know I had let it get that bad. Now, what's interesting about this whole idea is that somewhere along the way, my clients have stopped paying attention to themselves. They stopped paying attention to their own face in the mirror, what their body is doing, their waist circumference. Like somewhere along the way, they just stopped paying attention. Maybe because they thought, oh, if I had gained weight, that means something terrible and awful about me. As I age and I gain wrinkles on my face or my face starts to change or droop and it's not as firm or whatever the case may be, something's terribly wrong with me. Or you're so full of dread, or maybe you're having depression or anxiety or whatever may be going on for you. You don't feel like getting ready. You don't want to go through the rigmarole. But here's what happens. There's a part of you that maybe would like to show up differently. And I'm only speaking to that. I'm not asking you to do anything you're not willing to do or don't want to do. But typically when the clients come to me, they actually would like to make a change. They would like to have a makeover of some kind. And not just with their clothes, the way they feel about themselves. They want to get back to feeling like themselves again. But they're waiting. They're waiting for some sort of external catalyst. Something that would be the tipping point for them, where bad is bad enough to warrant finally taking care of themselves. That bad is bad enough to finally justify investing in themselves and having that makeover, showing up differently in their heart and mind, and therefore in the world. Like they're waiting for something to get bad enough. And it's so curious to me because how bad is bad enough? Do all of your clothes not fit? You're extremely physically uncomfortable to where you're experiencing negative pain. And then that's going to be your sign that you need to buy new clothes. Notice I didn't say lose weight. I said buy new clothes. You're going to wait till you literally stop sleeping, aren't drinking any water, your face feels really dry, and you start to get, let's say, itchiness all over your body because you're literally not taking good care of yourself. And then that's the catalyst, like when we're finally going to start paying attention to ourselves again. When we're so sleep deprived that we can't even make it to the shower, let alone through our meetings. And then that's going to be the catalyst for change. When our doctor tells us, when a significant other tells us, a romantic partner, our best friend, like what does it take for bad to be bad enough for you to allow yourself the gift and the pleasure of taking care of yourself? That's the question I want you to ask yourself. Some of you are so on the fence about like, well, it's not right. The time isn't right for me to take care of myself or invest in myself. The time isn't right for me to do X, Y, or Z and have my makeover. The time isn't quite right for me to do Style Masterclass yet. And I'm like, okay, well, when would we know if the time is right? Well, things aren't like bad. I'm like, well, why do we have to wait for them to be bad? And how bad is bad enough for you to finally say, okay, I have a stack of awfuls. I've been treating myself terribly. None of my clothing fits. I haven't been taking care of my skin. I haven't been sleeping. I haven't been drinking water. Like, okay, the stack of awfuls is high enough. Let's just add to the top. Someone's taken notice and maybe made a comment. Now it's tipped over. Now I'm allowed to take care of myself. Why do we have to put ourselves through that kind of turmoil? I did a whole podcast episode on justification stacking, right? The idea that we have to stack up all these reasons why before we're allowed to some niceness, show ourselves some compassion, purchase things for ourselves. We have to stack all these justifications and they have to tip over sufficiently before we're allowed to do something. We do the same thing here. It's a stack of things that are really awful, things that we probably don't care about for ourselves, things that we know are detrimental to our emotional health, our physical health, and yet we still do them because we're waiting for it to get bad enough for us to make a change. But any client that has come to me who said, oh, it finally was bad enough that I realized I needed to make a change, I asked them, one, when did they know it was bad enough? And two, what were the signs before that they were ignoring? Typically, it was bad enough because some external factor got involved. Somebody took notice, or a picture of them was published somewhere, or somebody made a comment, or their kids noticed. Like there was some external factor, and that was the bad enough part. But what's so interesting was when we talk about question number 2, what were the signs before that you ignored? And it's a myriad of things. I physically wasn't feeling well for a really long time. I didn't realize how depressed I really was. Wow, when I really think about it, I've been really struggling for a while. I haven't slept in what feels like a decade. Actual quote from a client. I realized none of my clothing fits me, and I actually did not know when that happened. I didn't know it had gotten that bad. And not because their weight had gotten that bad, but literally their lack of self-care and self-awareness had gotten that bad. That's a huge nuance. Belly circumferences change, they fluctuate. Welcome to being a human, not a problem. But when we ignore it and then don't give ourselves what we need to do our work in the world, which means getting dressed and putting clothes on our bodies so we can go do our work in the world, that's when it really becomes a problem. Where you ran out of your hair product. You ran out of the good moisturizer. You ran out of SPF, and you never bothered to replace those things because you're just waiting for bad to get bad enough. And it's so interesting because it's different for each of my clients. The little signs are I stopped exercising. The little signs are I stopped journaling. I stopped self-coaching. The little signs I started hiding when we had big events at work. I made excuses not to go out with my friends. Like this permeates all these different areas of our life. And if we don't start to notice the signs, then what we'll do is we'll create a scenario where we're trying to create a stack of awful to justify us finding our way back to ourselves. So, my friend, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to stop waiting for bad to be bad enough. Look at the signs. They're there. If you have the inkling, the desire, the little temptation to make a change, you don't have to wait for a stack of awful. You can make that change whenever you'd like. Style Masterclass is open. This is where we help women make those changes. And we have women who come to us at all different stages. Every journey looks completely different. Everybody's idea of self-care is different. Everybody's idea of style is different. Their morning routines are different. Their beauty routines are different because we help you craft something that's absolutely unique to you. No stack of awful required, and things don't have to be bad enough to justify it. Give yourself the pleasure of taking excellent care of yourself so you can get back to doing your work in the world. We don't have to wait for bad to be bad enough. The time is ripe right now. If you want to learn more about how to join us inside of Style Masterclass, click on the link below. Until next time, Miss J out.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. To learn more about how to work with me, go to judithgaton.com. Click on the Start Here button to get access to my free personal style class. I give you a quick style win, a confidence boost, and you walk away with the tools to start getting stylish. Who doesn't love that? See you there. Miss J out.